Ushtave and radiant peace and happiness to everybody. Now, I am an American Zoroastrian, and being an American, I grew up with the constant debate over what is better, capitalism or socialism. And especially, I grew up liking the beats. I really liked reading books by Jack Kerouac. Allen Ginsberg's one of my favorite poets. So is Gary Snyder, who I believe Gary Snyder is one of the few beats that's still alive today here in California. And so, oftentimes, that debate, like, what is better, capitalism or socialism? It would even come up in a lot of the beat literature, certain books by Jack Kerouac and the like. And I believe it was Allen Ginsberg. If it wasn't Allen Ginsberg, I remember it was one of the beats who said it. And whoever said it, it was an interesting thing to say, that in the debate between capitalism and socialism, it was Allen Ginsberg, and feel free to correct me if I'm misquoting him. It was Allen Ginsberg that said Buddhism is the third option. Now, later on in the 60s, Martin Luther King said that the problem with capitalism is that it acknowledges the individual but forgets that we're social. And the problem with socialism is that it acknowledges that we are social but forgets that we're individuals. Later on, Martin Luther King followed that up by saying that Christianity acknowledges both the individual and the collective, that we're both individual and social. And the truth is, both Allen Ginsberg and Martin Luther King are correct. You see, Buddhism is a good third alternative to capitalism and socialism, because Buddhism, like the philosophy that I am talking about here on this channel, which is Mazdayasni or Zoroastrianism, works to heal the mind, which is suffering. The problem with both capitalism and socialism is that both are looking to the material symptoms to fix the problem, but it doesn't start with the material symptoms. It starts with a sickness that's in the mind. However, before Siddhartha, Zarathustra was saying the same thing. So I see Buddhism, and Allen Ginsberg's correct that, Buddhism is a third option, but I would say that it is a third option in the sense that Buddhism is really just a later form of Zoroastrianism. And as for Martin Luther King, with his statement, what he says is also correct, that the teachings of Jesus, who I believe to be possibly one of the most important Saoshants in history, or savior, that the teachings of Jesus do acknowledge the individual, but they also acknowledge that we're social. However, those aspects of Jesus' teachings that not only acknowledge the individual but the collective were already in the Gathas at least 1700 years before Jesus, possibly 3,000 years before Jesus. And you can find this in the very first song of the Gathas, where first you have the Ashamvohu prayer, which is our main mantra, which translated in English is "True righteousness is the best righteousness." It is radiant happiness. Radiant happiness comes to one whom righteousness is done for the sake of righteousness alone. So right there is the individual. Because we are responsible for our own righteous actions. And we need to align our intentions to the righteous action for the sake of the righteous action and make the action its own reward without expecting any other reward except for the action of righteousness. Followed by that, you have the Yatha-ahu prayer, which is our second most important prayer. And in there, it says, those who help the needy make the dominion of Ahura Mazda. So right here is the emphasis on the collective. So it starts with Asham Vohu, righteousness for the sake of righteousness alone, which is where we need to align our state of mind. And there's no coincidence that right after that you have Yatha-ahu, where those who help the needy bring forth the dominion of Mazda, where through aligning our intention, we are not only benefiting ourselves, we're benefiting those around us to increase the happiness, to increase the idealism of our society, or of our world. Let's say the world. And then and that's where the individual relates to the collective. And so, yes, I think both Allen Ginsberg and Martin Luther King are correct, but I would word it differently and say that Mazdayasni is the third alternative in the sense that it focuses on healing the mind, which abuses the material, and in the sense that it acknowledges the collective and the individual. Radiant peace and happiness to everybody, and Ushtave.